Salam, namaste, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting edition of your favorite show. That's the Monty Khan Show on your favorite network, the ITV Gold. Whether you're watching this show in the United States, in Canada, or anywhere across the world, I welcome you with open arms. In every episode, in every edition, I bring forth somebody who's very talented from Bollywood, somebody from the beautiful, beautiful glitz and glamorous industry. But today, we are making an exception. The reason why we are making an exception is because the man who's sitting in this frame is somebody who's a dreamer. And I would like to start the show with a quote: "Don't dream your life, live your dream." And this man in the frame has done something like that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for one of the most successful South Asian personalities in the United States, Michael Karp, the CEO and co-founder of Option Group. Michael Bhai, welcome to my show. Such an honor that you've given us your precious and valuable time in Mumbai.
Thank you, Monty. Thank you for having me. On your quote, on what you said, I read somewhere that dreams at night don't come true, but dreams that you take during the day are possible, so
possible, absolutely.
So those dreams you can make happen, you know what I'm saying, right? So
yes,
I've followed that path and have made my dream and dreams of others come true as well.
That is the most beautiful thing that I've ever heard. Not only did you make your dream come true, but dream of others. And that is, we'd like to piggyback on that. But Mike, my show is all about people who have achieved something in life, and no achievement is big or small. It's all about getting to the finishing line, and starting with you. I've always admired your work, read about you in different articles. You've done great interviews on big networks. Like to hear from you, man. Like to hear about your journey. Where did this journey of Michael Karp start? I know you're from India. You must have come to the US with that little dream, with that little glitz in your eyes. Let's hear it from you. Ye journey kahan shuru hui?
So I grew up in Delhi. I went to high school in Delhi.
Excellent.
A school called Springdales on Pusa Road, and I was very lucky. I got my visa, and I came to America. My family, my Masi and my uncle were here in America, so I had a place to stay. And I was very lucky. I got into a college, and I transferred my visa to a student visa. It was much easier in those days to do those things. Not unlike today, where you have to cross the border from Mexico. So it was a lot easier. Couldn't travel to India until I got my green card.
Oh.
So
you sacrificed and.
So I had to sacrifice. Not coming back. For about 9 years and stay in America. And during this time, in college. I met a friend of mine, Indian as well. He passed away, unfortunately, 3 years ago. And we became, really good friends.
Okay.
And, he really inspired me to sort of, get into business with him. And we started this company called Options Group, okay?
Excellent.
And long story short, we co-founded the company in '92, got some funding from my family, and got a small little office in One Penn Plaza in Manhattan. And we started, cold calling. But before we did that, we had joined a small little company.
Okay.
And over there, my partner's name, which was Rajesh Shastri, he had changed it to Bob Reed.
Bob Reed, okay. Rajesh Shastri became Bob Reed. That's really interesting. I love that.
And
what about Michael Karp?
I was going to give you the story. My real name is Ashish Kumar. Okay.
Ashish Kumar Sahab.
Nice
to meet you officially.
Nice to meet you. First 2 days I was working with a small little company called Superior Career Concepts, and there were no computer in those days. The databases weren't there. It wasn't like today.
We're talking about which year?
This is about 1991.
87. Oh, 91.
87, I was in college.
Correct.
And then 91, I started this job, And the way I got this job was where my partner, Bob
Reed,
used to have, he answered an ad in a newspaper which said, fortunes are made in this business. If you're a great cold caller, call this number. So he called that number and he found this job because he wanted to be a wealth manager. He wanted to be a private wealth manager. And in those days, coming out of the '87 crash, the business wasn't as robust, as it might be today, or as it was, pre-crisis, etc. But he couldn't find that private wealth management job, so he alternatively found the headhunting business.
Correct,
became a headhunter. Not too many Indian headhunters in those days.
Very rare, very rare. Especially
very
you must be
rare.
having the challenge. I'm not saying this, I mean, absolutely, you don't have the accent right now, but when you come freshly from India, you have that accent.
You have the
to
accent,
fight
you have to fight that, you have to compete, and, competition was in both our nature. We both athletes, growing up. I played different sports in India, he played different sports in America.
What did you play?
I played basketball, I played cricket, so I did a lot of different things,
Awesome,
track and field, table tennis, a lot of different, sports. We're good at racket sports, squash, so I was, first couple of days I was cold calling, under, Ashish, Ash, and the people were like, we're not buying no hash, so they would hang up on me, and, so my boss, so my boss looked at me and she said, you look like this Israeli lawyer that my father used to use in the 60s. I had the same haircut, but much longer, I've lost my hair a little bit, but, much thicker hair.
Got it.
And she goes, go with this name, Mike Karp, and see what happens. So I picked up the phone and I called Goldman Sachs, cold call Goldman Sachs. I still remember that number. It was 212-357-7602.
Absolutely.
And on the other end, this woman, Melissa Romano, answered the phone. And, I gave her my, the pitch that we had, hi, are you hiring people, blah, blah, blah. She goes, yeah, we're hiring people, but not full-time, you're hiring for consultants. So I didn't know what the heck I was talking about, so I said, yes, we do that as well. Please send me, whatever you have. So
what are your requirements?
What are your requirements are, your job requirements.
But what is the pitch, Bhai? I want to, imagine if this is actually happening. Let's roll back in time. Let's go back to 1991. I'll be Melissa.
Yeah, sure. So the pitch was, hi, this is
Goldman Sachs.
Hi, this is Mike Karp calling, and I'm calling in checking in with you if you're hiring any sophisticated Unix, C++, C programmers, that are doing, analytics and they're working for derivative desks, and if you need someone that is, PhD qualified and computer science, our firm provides that talent. And then she goes to the other end.
If you're not hiring full-time employees, we only need consultants. Can you do that?
Yes, absolutely. We can do that. And then on the other end, she said, "Do you have a consulting contract?" Okay. And I said, "Yes, we have a consulting contract."
There you go, the Delhi boy.
Exactly. So like a movie. You know what I'm saying,
like
right?
A movie, yeah.
So next morning, I go in, and if you work in the business on a training floor, you know how it is and
like
how it was.
Market, buddy. Yeah.
And how it was.
Yeah.
So the secretary gets up and she goes, "Who is this guy, Mike Karp? I have recs for him, 30 pages from Goldman Sachs." And I raise my hand, I take them, I go, I read the recs. No computers, there was no matching techniques, what we have today. We'll go later in the interview and I'll tell you how our firm operates today versus what we did back in the day. So, being a computer science student, I didn't graduate in computer science. I went to college, in computer science, but to keep my visa active, but I ran out of money and there's a whole different story in there that we'll get into as well, I went in and I stayed up the whole night and I took every resume file from A to Z and I read the names, of the people and the job descriptions, and I could match the jobs much better than most recruiters could. So I was like, all right, they need a 2-year experience. The guy's got 4. Boom,
Unix, C++,
MIT,
and that time it was Unix and C++, yeah.
And in those
Oracle.
days, as I had studied that in my own thing with a friend, I developed a small little test for C++, for some of these guys that were they're coders, and I would send them that basic C++ test. It's developed way more today than it was in those days. And these guys were from MIT, Stanford, Caltech, Harvard, IIT, École Polytechnique, Bocconi. I can keep going. All these different universities in the world. And some were on F1 visa. Someone were on H1B visa. Someone was on a different O visa, L visa. Whatever different kind of visas. So I matched all these job descriptions, and I remember I think I sent about 42 or 45 resumes into these different job requirements. And I got the next 3 days, the woman never called me, but on a Friday she called me and she said, "We want to interview about 22 of your people."
There you go. Which was a huge thing, buddy.
A huge thing.
From 30, they wanted 22. You must have sent more than 30.
Yeah.
The requisition
about
was 30.
47 I sent. But the match ratio
buffer of 17. You gave them a buffer of 17 and match ratio. Wow.
It's massive, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So the woman was like, "Look, this has never happened to us from a recruiter." And even my partner Bob, who had hired me into the business, was like, "Man, this is fantastic, let's go." So we got 3 deals done out of that, long story short. Fees were astronomical, the firm made the money. And I went to my boss to ask him for $5,000, okay, as an advance, all right? And the guy, $5,000.
in 1991.
91.
How, in terms of inflation, how much would that be today?
I don't know, 15, 20 grand.
20 grand, okay,
just,
okay.
Just hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
So I
right.
asked him, and he goes to me, what do you need 5,000 for? So I said to him, I said, listen, Joe, this business is all about, taking people out, getting to know them, building relationships. And the first thing that you need to do is you need to dress apart.
Correct.
And COVID has changed that a bit. People have gotten too lazy and stuff.
They don't dress up anymore.
They don't dress
I
up
agree with
anymore. You know how it is.
Presentation.
They don't
yes.
like wearing a tie. So it's and they think it's normal to do these
And
things.
people are laughed when they see a pocket square.
Exactly.
They'll be like, oh, this guy's got a pocket square.
Exactly. So the first thing we were taught was that you need to be wearing matching socks, shoes need to be polished, tie needs to be tight, shirt needs to be solid. Look good when you walk into an interview. That's the first
Absolutely.
step of going for an interview.
Correct.
And then I said to him, I said, look, in those days, I don't know if you remember this, Monty, but by NYU, there used to be on Broadway these stores, right?
On 8th Street?
And that were like Armani suits for
Yeah, $99.99.
I don't know if you remember that.
I still remember that.
So I remember I couldn't afford the Armani.
Buy one and you get one free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went up to my boss and I said, look, I spent $2,000 on outfits.
Correct.
Shirts, suits, shoes, socks, boom, 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 all that stuff, belts, matching everything, okay?
Correct.
And the other $2,000-3,000 I'll keep, and in America when you give $5,000 you have to pay tax, you know what I'm saying, right?
So he didn't even give you cash, he wrote it down as an
He
expense.
He didn't give me anything.
Oh shit.
Okay, so let me tell you the whole story. Let me finish the whole story, okay?
Okay.
So he goes to me, he goes, Mike, listen, you owe me money because half the candidates were the firm's candidates, so 50-50 split, okay? And I owe you 30% commission. I've given you $500 draw, and blah, 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 blah. So you owe me 20 grand. I'm like, dude, this is not how the math works, okay?
You owed him?
I owe him
20
he said,
grand.
20 grand, okay? And I said to him, listen, I'm a math student, okay? You're wrong. You owe me, 20-some thousand dollars. So all I'm asking you is $5 grand, but it's okay if you don't want to give me that. I didn't want to go home and ask my parents or my uncle and aunt and all that stuff because I was grown up at that point. I was 22 years old, and I was up there.
Still young.
So, still young, but in America, you know how it is.
Yeah,
So we wanted to do it. Bob and I wanted to do it on our own.
And how old was this boss of yours?
He was in his early 40s, I reckon, or late 30s or whatever. You know what I'm saying, right?
Stingy guy.
Yeah. So I said to him, and he said, no problem. That night, and you've known me for a while.
Very long
I
time.
was
Yes,
very
sir.
well connected in the city from the the party entertainment scene.
Yes. And even the entertainment and the film industry, you are probably one of the major reasons why the South Asian Film Festival happened for all these years,
All
and you've
these
been the pillar of strength for them. Yes.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of stuff on the side
Yes,
besides give back to the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So coming back to your
So
story.
coming back on that story, he didn't give me the money. Blue Label was being launched in New York that night in '91 at Smith and Wolinski's.
The Johnny Whisker
The
Blue
Johnny
Label?
Label Blue
The
Label.
Johnny Walker Blue Label. Wow.
Okay, and a friend of mine called me who was promoting it, and he said, "Dude, get into Smith and Wolinski's before 5 o'clock, and I'll get you a seat at the bar. It's
Correct.
free whiskey and free steaks all night.
Really?
And you can bring 1 or 2 people." Okay, so I left the office early. It was a Friday,
Correct.
and I went up. And Bob knew the same people as well. So, he didn't show up, but he showed up around 7:30, and he was mad at me that I left. And I told him that night, I was like, Bob, I will never work for this guy, okay? And we're going to go and start our own company, okay? And if anybody comes and asks us for money, we'll give them double, okay? And he was like, dude, you're crazy. How are we going to raise the money? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't worry, we'll get the money. If you're in, let me know. And there was another guy, who we were like, let's go, and 3 of us will do this on our own. And, that one guy was Chinese, he dropped out, so Bob and I, we went up to my uncle, he's a very well-known guy as well, Praveen Bhutani, I don't know if you know him at all.
Praveen Bhutani, yes.
So he basically said to me, yes, he had, sold part of his company at that point, he financed us, we started, in a little room, the guy got pissed, he got my partner, in a case, he put a case on my partner, on IP theft, like
the previous employer,
the previous
your first-
employer,
the IUS
because he owed him about $150,000 in those days, and they settled without him. Bob didn't take any money from him and all that stuff. So just to give you some details on how this business works and all that stuff, because it's once you have a producer, you don't want to lose them. You know what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely.
And that was my whole
Absolutely.
goal in life, that you want to run this business like a partnership with your partners. So
Right.
long story short, today we have about 300 people globally in our firm. We have 17 offices worldwide.
Wow. Wow.
So there are many families that are dependent on the firm. Coming back to your original question of about other people's dreams.
That is huge.
So from technology, I'm placing people in technology in America at major firms like Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, Bankers Trust, Deutsche Bank. I can keep going. Citibank. All the big ones, Bank of America. And then the world has evolved with all the big hedge funds. So every single multi-strategy hedge fund that's out there. Every private equity funds that are out there. Asset managers that are out there, family offices that are out there. So our firm services all these different clients, worldwide. So from just being in the tech practice.
You started off with the tech
with
practice.
the tech practice.
Yes.
We evolved into the investment management practice. So
That
we
is
started
huge.
placing traders in derivatives,
That
in
is
fixed
huge.
income, in equities, in commodities, in credit. And then we started doing investment banking. So we do M&A bankers. We place.
Wow.
So we've done a whole wide variety of places. And we have board practices. We do CEOs of different firms.
Phenomenal.
And then over the years,
Phenomenal.
over the years, we have people in the firm that are doing crypto, different businesses, right? So the firm has, dramatically grown, and unfortunately, my partner who co-founded the firm, got diagnosed with glioblastoma, brain cancer,
Oh, that's
which is
so
it's a
sad.
gold
Very rare.
medal of brain cancer.
Isn't that what happened to our dear Irfan Khan from
Yes.
Bollywood?
Yes.
It's so sad. It's
Yes,
so sad.
yes. So he, was given, very short time to live. He passed away, in 2020
3
on
months.
October 4th. So it's been about 3 years since he
3 years
passed
since
away,
he passed away.
and we're just continuing his legacy, It was a dream of ours that, we fulfilled together. So, we continue in sort of doing it. And that's what I want to tell the audience, right?
Oh my gosh.
People have dreams, go out there and fulfill them, just don't let anybody block them,
And
You'll find many people that will help you do it,
There are, as you rightly said, there will be, if you take a count of 100 people, there might be 99 people trying to block your dreams, but that one guy, and I believe that it's the gentleman who passed away, he believed in your dreams. So if your dreams don't scare you, they're not real, guys, because your dreams have to scare you. Like, look at Mike, he comes from India, comes from Delhi, fights against all the odds, is an Indian, and at that time, Mike, if correct me if I'm wrong, brother, now we have the top CEOs of United States, all of Indian descent. IIT Kharagpur, IIT Mumbai, you name it, all IITians, you name it, Google, Microsoft, Pepsi, Indranoy stepped down, that's a different story, but you name it, Twitter, Agarwal, just a new CEO. So the whole mindset of Americans and the world has changed towards Indians. Would you believe that in the headhunting business itself?
Look, I mean, Indians were always very prominent on Wall Street.
Not when you came in the US.
There weren't as many, but the diaspora of the Indian Pakistanis, there were a lot, they were smart, okay, and all these people had gone for the PhDs that had transformed. But what we've seen in the last 30 years, Indians dominate.
Now, they can be smart, but my question is perception. How do non-Indians, Caucasians, people from different ethnicities, how do they perceive? Like right now, if you have a board of directors and you pitch, I want an Indian guy to be a CEO of, of a tech company, Oracle, or maybe a huge giant tech firm.
There's no difference, right, at this point, whether you're Caucasian or Indian or Chinese. I mean, the Indians have always spoken English better than anybody else,
They do,
right?
yes.
So it's a combination of IQ and EQ. And
Well said.
my view in life is that the Indians have a much better balance, of both those, the IQs and EQs.
And EQs.
So the guys, like, I don't think I'm as strong in IQ as I am in EQ, and then I meet a lot of people that are very strong in the EQs, and I mean, the IQs, they're not strong in the EQ, so we coach them, in terms of how to go about it, balance. But Indians have been very good versus, other communities in sort of balancing the IQ EQ model. So that's why they've risen to the top. And when they're sitting in a board, and by the way, Indians are not considered diverse anymore. You know what I'm saying, right? Because for every technical job that's out there, you have 4 or 5 resumes that are going in. Whether it's a CEO job or whether it's a whether you look at FedEx or Barclays, or if you look at Deutsche Bank when Anshu ran it, or Vikram when he ran Citibank. You know what I'm saying, right? So when you look at how it's been spread, the board doesn't consider Indians to be diverse anymore. You know what I'm saying, right? Okay, because they're in every facets of every business, whether it be tech, biotech, medicine,
you name it,
Wall Street, financial services, defense. You know what I'm saying, right? And a lot of these.
We have a candidate. We have a political candidate standing.
Political, exactly. So
That is
in politics, Indians are everywhere. You know what I'm saying, right? And Indians have sort of, put themselves not only in America but Canada, UK, Australia, all major countries, and that's the reason I was always intrigued in going to different countries and different cities and opening offices. Because
and you did that. You have 17 offices across
yes.
the world. Now coming back to Options Group, Mike, and this is my question. In this beautiful, I would say that the years that Options Group has existed, which was the most tough phase for Options Group, and if you want to elaborate, how did you held the team strong? Because I know 2008, 2009 was like, we had the market crash, and we were all going through tough times because of the mortgage, balloon bust and stuff like that. Did Options Group go through a roller coaster ride? Because, we're talking about a dream run, but want to also know your challenges and how you fought those challenges as a leader.
So look, we've been in business for 3 decades
Yes.
plus now at this point. Okay, we've entered our 4th decade in business. So we've seen many cycles. We saw the '94 cycle, we saw the '98 cycle. Then we saw the 2001 cycle. Then we saw the 2008 cycle. Okay, and then we've seen the 2011 cycle, and then we saw the this cycle that's coming up.
Yeah.
And in 2008, we had a 50% drop in our revenue from where we were.
So you did suffer.
So we did suffer, okay? And the way that I manage the business as a leader is, I make sure that, the top of the management takes the hit, not the
Okay.
people that work for us, okay?
Wow.
So we didn't cut people's salaries, we didn't, take 30%, off people's draws and,
Was
people's
your
commissions.
company one of the few companies that never laid off anybody during that time?
During that time, we laid off some people, but during COVID, we did not lay off anyone.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Beautiful.
because we wanted to keep the team together.
Correct.
And our motto during that time was, stronger together.
Stronger together. Yes, I read that.
And
And you don't want to lose talent, because you're a man who himself, if that guy would have given you $5,000, I'm sorry I'm going back in time because I'm a believer of destiny, man. If that guy would have given you $5,000, you would have probably not left him.
probably, so that was the best $5,000 that someone didn't give me.
That was the best thing that ever happened.
Exactly.
So for me, that's the turning point.
Exactly.
That steak and Blue Label, come down here, buddy. Come run down. Was it on 2nd Avenue, Smith and Malitsky?
Yeah, 3rd Avenue.
3rd Avenue, because my mind just started spinning, and so you didn't lay off anybody during COVID, and you kept your team strong and
Very strong.
running, and you knew you were going to.
That's probably because even more than the 2008 crisis. When you asked that question, that was probably the most challenging time for me, because my partner was diagnosed with glioblastoma. He was given 12 months to live. We were going through COVID, the toughest time that we probably had at a firm, and then to keep it together, with people all over the place. But what that taught me, that was great as well, because that's where I learned that, for this business to keep it together, we started setting up Zoom calls.
Good.
Okay,
Alternatives,
every single individual in the firm stepped up. Okay, we had product calls going on. Okay, people were communicating, right? So with the model of staying together, you're stronger together. We came up with collaboration. You know what I'm saying, right? So we were collaborating way more. So between March and around June or July of that year was tough.
That was the most.
But then the
tough,
second half of the year, from September on, it took off again, and then we set up the best times of our firm.
The best quarter you've ever seen in that year.
So the best year we had was last year for our firm, where the firm crossed 9 digits in revenue. Okay.
Amazing, guys. 9
So
digits
from
in
zero
revenue,
to
from
9
zero to
digits is
9 digits is huge.
Huge. It took us a long time to get there.
Wow.
But now we are
Wow.
aiming to be a 200 million plus company. In terms of revenue, and we are trying. We're trying very hard to attract talent. To come and work for us. Worldwide. We're looking for talent.
You'll find a lot of talent. People are watching.
I hope-
Their
I
eyes are
hope-
lit up,
I
man.
hope you're
That's
watching
like-
the Monty Khan Show. So
Dreams come
Dreams
real,
come
buddy.
true, man.
Dreams come
Yeah,
real.
exactly,
A man coming
exactly.
from Delhi and making a mark and not giving up. That's solidarity. That's integrity. Believing in himself. Self-belief.